Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Okay, Austin, congrats, man. I know you've been hearing that a lot lately, but it still feels good, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
And yeah, let's talk about the Contender Series. We were supposed to have an interview ahead of that one, and I think right when we were scheduled to do it, your opponent pulled out, I
Yeah, I
believe.
remember. I think it was the
Yeah,
same day.
yeah, same day, right? And it
hmm
was it kind of weird, like the opponent that you got, because I think they're from the same team.
Yeah, something about that whole thing was just a little fishy. Replacement and then same guy from that camp comes in and fights me. I feel like that whole thing was just a weird setup.
Yeah, and I believe he was talking a little bit, right, in interviews ahead of the fight. There was a lot of I don't know if you were talking back at him, but I remember seeing something.
Yeah, he was talking a lot. I don't really talk too much outside the cage. I just
Mhm.
save it for inside the cage. But yeah, he was a loudmouth.
Yeah, how does that impact you? How does that affect you ahead of fights?
Honestly, those are the opponents I prefer,
Mhm.
Going in there, fighting these loudmouths is good. I like that. I don't feel bad when I hurt them and finish them.
And with such a big opportunity coming up, and with the switch up, like how did that impact you leading up to the fight? I mean, it was so close to the fight that it almost seemed like they might not have found an opponent for you.
Yeah, that's actually happened to me a lot in my career, just throughout the whole entire pro career, where my opponent would back out on a week's notice or even like 3, 4 day notice, and I'll get another one. So it was nothing new to us. We kind of had this before.
What about fight week? How did fight week go for you at Contenders?
Fight week was very smooth. We went out there the Saturday before, and so I was there for about 4 days. And then after the fight, I kind of extended my trip a little bit, a couple days with my family.
Okay, so did you go back into the PI and get to use? Because I heard when you're a Contender Series fighter, you don't actually get to use the PI until you get signed.
Yeah, so yeah, you don't get to use it until you get signed. But no, I didn't even get to check it out, really.
Okay, okay. So the fight, the actual fight, I mean, people saw it, balls to the wall in the first round. I mean, it's expected, right? That you have that style, and you get the finish finally. Did you expect the fight to go that long though?
So, our game plan obviously was a short notice fight, but my coaches told me, kind of kept it the same, getting very tired in the first and then finish him in the second. So that was our game plan. And that's what happened after that first round. He really slowed down big time.
And you've been fighting in crowds the whole time, in front of crowds the whole time. A lot of pro Austin Bashi crowds, and you go into the Apex, and there's like barely anybody in there. There's maybe 10, 20, 30 people, but it's nothing like you used to.
So, in the obviously at home here, I have hundreds and hundreds of people. And at the Apex, you're usually only allowed four. But I was have a little bit of ties.
Mhm.
And I actually had like 30 family members in there.
Oh, okay. That's nice. That's nice. That's not bad. So it was kind of a familiar environment for you then when you stepped out.
Yeah, because obviously I had 30 people and I don't
Mhm.
know how much he had, but with it being so small in there, it was still kind of loud.
They're gonna close the Apex, right, in December all the way to like mid 2025. Are you happy about that? Because that means you don't have to fight in the Apex.
So obviously that was my first time fighting in there, but man, I loved it. I actually
Okay.
loved every second of it. It was for sure my favorite fight and a lot quieter than normal, and I really liked that a lot actually.
And anything they're saying to you about returning this year or early next year?
Nothing yet, but hopefully that's the plan. Either one more this year or just start fresh next year. I'm not really too sure though.
Okay, so the approach that you have, right, with taking fights now, you got guys like Justin Gaethje that are openly saying that they don't take short notice fights. They take like Islam Makhachev. He never takes. Habib never took a short notice fight. Are you in that kind of group? Like you're not going to take short notice fights. You're going to take your fights with camps seriously, or are you like, no, I'm gonna take my chances?
So, honestly, I'm training like pretty much all year round, every day, all day, in camp or out of camp. When I am in camp, it is definitely another notch or two up. But At the end of the day, my coaches make all the calls. I literally have nothing to do with that. They tell me yes, no, and they control that all for me. I have no say in that.
So complete faith in your coaches.
Yeah, I started training when I was 8 years old, and here I am 14 years later with literally the same exact coach and the same exact team. And I feel like that really plays a big, big factor in my success. You see all these people nowadays, like they start out with coaches and then they're hopping from gyms to gyms, coaches to coaches. But I have a real, real tight chemistry with these coaches, and they're now my family.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And you said you started you're 8 years old and now you're 23. You get to see like your coach's age as well, right? Like they don't look the
Yeah,
same as
yeah. It
how
is pretty crazy. It is crazy.
any of them go bald or anything like that?
One of my coaches been bald since I met him.
Okay, okay.
And another one is actually an Asian, and the Asians don't age really.
For real, for real. I'm 45 years old, but most people
Oh
don't know
wow,
that.
yeah,
So, but speaking of Asians, man, you had a pretty famous one at the gym, Lerdzila. I've been around him. I've taken his seminars as well. Like, what was it like being around? He's such a like cool dude, right? I call him the Tom Cruise of Thailand.
yeah, man, he is so humble, and we got that experience because I have a Thai coach. His name is Mei T, which was Lumpini Stadium champion over 250 professional fights, and he always brings in these different Thai guys. And Lerdzilla was with us for a few weeks, and he's brought him in before, and just the most humble guy there is.
Any plans of maybe going out to Thailand to train in the future?
I would love to take a trip with my coach Métis and him show me around town. That would be awesome.
And sparring with Lerdzilla, he's like 40 something years old, but he can still move like he's 20.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't even touch the guy. He was toying around with me.
And anything special that you kind of learned about yourself, training with him a little bit, learning from him?
Yeah, there's a whole different level. He's literally on literally the top of the top, and sparring with him made me realize that I have so much more work to do.
Now in November, they're gonna have some rule changes in MMA. It's gonna come into effect. The first one is the 12 to 6 elbows. Now they will be legal. What are your thoughts on that?
I like that. Honestly, I always kind of said I feel like those should be good to go, and also I always said that I would like for knees at a grounded opponent as well.
And with the 12 to 6 elbows, like there's certain positions like in mount, right? You can kind of do that 12 to 6. That wasn't really legal back then. And then also like defending takedowns along the fence. Like you're not really doing much defending, but I'm saying like, is that something that you got to be very cautious of now?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I just those elbows are like from when they I there is a lot of finishes where they start using those kind of side elbows and those
Mhm.
takedowns, and you definitely have to be cautious.
Yeah, and there's less interference by the referee. I think that's the one of the most important things that fighters are looking at.
Yeah, I agree.
Have you ever had a bad experience in a fight where the referee kind of just interfered a little too much, was talking a little too much to the fighters or anything like that?
Nothing that I've been in. Usually, the ones I've been in been pretty smooth.
All right. So the other rule change is the knees and kicks to a grounded opponent, which means that you can't play with the tripod or even like be on all fours. Like there has to be like an elbow on the ground or a knee on the ground to be a grounded opponent. How do you think that affects your game?
I like that game because it's just a weird rule. I'm always, if I'm in those positions, I have to see if their hands are touching the floor. Sometimes I don't even see it, and I have to listen to my coaches, and it's just gonna be better. Actually, I think that's gonna play a better role for me.
All right, and you're entering the featherweight division, one of the most stacked divisions in the promotion, and there's a lot of guys that have been around for a long time. Probably guys that have was in the UFC when you started training MMA at 8 years old.
hmm
Are there any guys that you like watched throughout the years, or you're like, oh, that guy, man, he's something that I could like look at and kind of emulate a little bit?
Someone that's been in the division forever and he's still on the top of the chain is Max Holloway.
Mhm.
He's actually, I'm pretty sure he joined the UFC when he was 23, so I'm 23 right now, and here he is 10 years later about to fight for a title.
Yeah, and there's other like veterans as well that have been fighting throughout the years. Anybody that you look at and say like, okay, I want to eventually fight that guy.
So obviously I was bantamweight beforehand,
Mhm.
so there was a lot of guys that I was looking up to, and to fight them. But now at this featherweight, it would be a real dream matchup to fight Max Holloway.
Okay, okay. That's an interesting one because he right now he's just like at his peak. Do you look at that career and say, okay, now that's a kind of like a blueprint that you can follow and be still relevant after so many years?
Right. His longevity is crazy. Especially he's always in wars too, and
Mhm.
it is crazy that he's still going with all those wars. But to see it is, yeah, it's good.
Is that something you look at and say, okay, I gotta avoid that. I don't want to be in those wars like that.
Yes, that's something for sure. You know, if you look at all these Dagestani fighters, they really, not a lot of them take too much damage. And for example, Habib, he had 29 professional fights and really barely took any damage. And now he's retired and he's still there.
Do you want to retire early? Do you want to be retired like by the time you're 30, early 30s or something like that?
I haven't really thought about that. You know, I just kind of just started out my UFC career, so not really thinking about that.
Okay. And Habib, a lot of people I think a lot of people called you like the American Habib. What do you think? Now that you're in the UFC, now it's like the pressure's on, right?
Yeah, I love his style. You know, he's relentless. He doesn't stop. And but honestly, one of my favorite fighters right now to watch is Merab. He has that style that I feel like it's kind of like I kind of follow that style.
What did you think of his performance against Sean O'Malley?
Oh, I loved it. You know, he literally broke him in half, and that's kind of what I seen coming though.
Do you think that right now, there's a lot of the strikers, right, that are kind of dominating the divisions, but there seems to be a little switch. You got Marab, you got Islam, you got Dricus Duplessis, guys like that have kind of like an all around game, but use grappling effectively. Do you feel like there is a switch in like the dominant style right now?
Yeah, you know, some people I feel like are either straight brawlers back in the days,
Mhm.
and now you see a lot of those heavy wrestling pressure, and a lot of the champions right now are like just dominant wrestlers.
Man, so for you, when's the perfect time for you to come back? Like if you could choose, like there's a bunch of events lined up for the rest of the year. Is there any date, like, or place, location?
Location anywhere, you know,
Mhm.
I wouldn't care anywhere around the world, anywhere in the state, but mid December would be perfect for me.
And you say anywhere around the world, like what's a location or maybe a few locations that you'd like to fight in before the career is up?
There's a lot of Abu Dhabi would be a cool
Mhm.
one to go to. Check that out, and even Brazil. I know they go out there sometimes. Back in the days, they used to go out there a lot, but
Yeah,
that and then I think they're just in Paris as well, right?
yeah, for
That
sure.
would be another one.
And maybe Detroit. Detroit would be a good one.
Detroit would be it.
Yeah, headline, right? Headline a Detroit card. That's one
Yep,
of the bucket list things, right?
for sure,
For
for
sure, for
sure.
sure. All right, Austin, man, thank you so much for taking the time, man. I'm looking forward for you to make your UFC debut. Congratulations again on getting the contract, and yeah, hopefully we'll be doing many of these in the future.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.